Hello to anyone who's watching this video on the internet. You're watching a game that was arranged through the Gauntlet. I say this as if you're watching this video through any other medium besides the internet. Hi to the future where we've stored this on, I don't know, optical dice or other such storage solutions. I don't know. But you're watching a game that was arranged through the Gauntlet, which is a community on the internet that gets together and plays tabletop role-playing games online. You can find everything related to the Gauntlet at the link down below, gauntlet-rpg.com, where you find, stuff related to indie tabletop role-playing games, such as, blogs, forums. There is the zine that Gauntlet puts out called Codex, which contains usually, supplements to existing games or original games itself. There's also the podcasting network, where there's like a variety of different podcasts that Gauntlet does. There's a new episode of the Gauntlet podcast just out fairly recently, and Plus One Forward, the Powered by the Apocalypse podcast, is doing a series on belonging outside belonging games from descended from Dream Askew and all that, which is all really cool. Check all that out. But the most important part of the Gauntlet, at least in my view, is the Hangouts calendar, through which the Gauntlet arranges like 100 plus different game sessions every month. A veritable cornucopia, a smorgasbord, so to speak, of different types of games. Check it out, including this one, which is Saber, a Forged in the Dark game of mecha warfare by Austin Ramsey. Link down below to check that out. Forged in the Dark means it is a hack of Blades in the Dark by John Harper. That game is all about rogues, scoundrels, thieves in an industrial fantasy city. Well, this game is all about pilots, soldiers piloting gigantic machines of war, vehicles of combat in a capital W war that dwarfs their lives. It's all about trying to figure out how to survive and get through the war with as much of yourself intact, which is fun stuff. So think Gundam, basically. Giant robots. Pacific Rim, more giant robots. But all about, coming together as a squad. But who is on this squad? So what I'm going to ask is everyone to introduce just yourselves, not the characters yet, just the players. If that's okay, we'll get to the characters in a moment. So I should introduce myself as well. Hi, I'm Leandro. I use he/him pronouns. I'm running this game. I'm excited. Last week was a lot of some world building, character creation, some neat ideas that we're gonna pull together into this 2-month long campaign. So I'm gonna go left, right, and character keeper. And just ask folks introduce just themselves. And so it's just your name, pronouns, and what you're looking forward to in this game. So start with yourself, Mike.
How's it going? I'm Mike. I use he/him pronouns. I'm looking forward to. I'm ready for some descriptions of flashy mecha combat. I know we're gonna have lots of feelings, but I really hope there's just some really detailed breakdowns of sparks and lasers and explosions. Yeah, I want a couple of those.
There will be heat sinks. There will be giant robotic warriors beating the absolute crap out of each other. There will be those. Up next, Lara, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you're looking forward to?
Yeah, hi y'all. I'm Laura. I use she/her pronouns, and I'm just really looking forward to getting to know this game. I've never played Blades in the Dark, much less a hack of it. So, yeah, I'm really excited.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna say this is the easiest entry into Forge of Dark. Absolutely not, but it's gonna be fun. Full disclosure, it's my favorite entry, so to speak, in this series. So I'm looking forward to introducing that. But that doesn't mean there's an impetus for everyone to have to like this game. Just because I said this is kind of my favorite hack of it. You don't have to like it, but I hope you do. So up next, Bethany, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you're looking forward to?
Yeah, hi, I'm Bethany, they, them pronouns, and I am, yeah, this is odd because normally I'm not like all about the missions. I like a lot of downtime, but I'm looking forward to doing a mission.
Yeah, heck yeah. I've had to adjust on this mission because apparently everyone wanted to punch above their weight, which is fine. You know, I mean that's the thing. This game does encourage, like, you know, if folks have a mission they want to do, let's put that together. Usually the first mission is just like something I have to put together to introduce flavor, but apparently no, people wanna be underdogs, which is grand. That's a grand want. And although I will say, every time I've GM before Junior Dark game, everyone just keeps rolling sixes. It's annoying. Yeah, you're not gonna die. Don't worry. If anyone looks at this YouTube channel and sees any other Forging in Dark game I've ran, everyone rolls sixes. It's bewildering. Um, someone who's probably seen that in action. Last but not least, Treb, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you're looking forward to?
Hi, I'm Treb. I use he, him pronouns. I'm here for the feels, moral dilemmas, and occasional badassery.
I'm always up for some occasional badassery. Like full-time badassery, that's too much. But the occasional stuff, you know, it works for me. That's an obvious joke. I'm gonna move on. All right. Okay, so before we kind of jump into it, I do want to talk about the safety tools that we are using for this game. Not just today, but for the whole game. I was supposed to look at the safety tab, which is safety / links / image tab. You see we got lines, veils, and ask first. So for those who don't know, lines are things that like won't be crossed, just like won't show up in the fiction at all. Veils are things that can happen like in fiction, but you know, we're not gonna like concentrate on it. Like it happens off screen or it gets like a sentence or two. And there's stuff that are ask first, which is basically before we kind of introduce those kinds of elements, we put that forward to the table first and see if folks are okay with it. So I asked folks to like have a look through the list here and see if there's anything they want to add, if there's something they want to change. And once you're a-okay with it, just send okay in the chat. Or type okay in the chat. I still can't figure out the best way to say that. Say okay in the chat. Okay.
Okay in the chat.
Just okay the chat. Just sure, it'll be grand. Okay. But this is a living document, so if folks have something they don't remember, they didn't come up at the moment and want to add later, that's perfectly fine. And just send me a message if you added anything new. There's a neat function here in Zoom where you can just send private messages. It's weird. Or send direct messages. It's really neat. We are also using script change for this game. In fact, script change is like a series of commands, basically, that lets like control modulate the fiction. The relevant commands we're using are on the roll for a party, which I think I put a link in the chat. The largely pet adder. And basically, you know, I'll just go through the commands real quick. There is rewind, which basically we call upon if, like, you know, if we run into a scene that folks feel comfortable, any one of you can feel comfortable about, and it could be about anything. It could be like a name or a general detail of the scene, or even just the entire scene itself. I call for a rewind. You don't have to explain why you're uncomfortable with it, and I might ask. I might have some questions on what it is that we're trying to avoid, but you know, if a rewind is called, we'll respect that and figure out something else from there. There's also pause. Basically, we can call pause to the action at any point for a variety of reasons. Like you might want a bio break, or the scene might be getting a bit intense and we need to like, all right, slow down. What are we doing here? Or even if you want to pause to ask for, some clarity in what's happening, because there's a lot going on in most tabletop role-playing games, and sometimes we can just get like, wait, why are we shooting at this train that's shaped like a fox? How did we get here? And some people were like, oh yeah, well yeah, because we're all about shooting trains that are shaped like foxes, and they're like, wait, what? How did we get there? You can call for a pause, and then we'll figure out how we got there. Not that I've ever seen a game get away from you where you don't know why you're shooting at a train that is shaped like a fox. Also, like, this is all part of our open door policy, which basically means like if folks need to step away from the table from any reason's fine. Like there might be an emergency you need to take care of, or you're more tired during a thought and you want to like step away, or you want to take a bio break, any point. That's perfectly fine. That's part of pausing the game, and will accommodate yourselves. I will say the open door policy also extends to myself. So keep that in mind. And the last command we're looking at is fast forward, which basically call on that if we like we need to like fade to black, just move on, skip some time. Like, we don't need to linger on this. We don't need to linger on this train full of, I don't know, valuable roses crashing into the ground as the train engineer who you saved is watching it. A single tear falls down his cheek as his life's work is destroyed in front of him. We don't need to linger at that. We can just fast forward. Or we might want to linger at that. Who knows? But if anyone doesn't want to, we can call for a fast forward. The thing with these commands is that, like, if people call for those, we'll respect that. We'll respect why they call for those, for sure. Okay, so last week we spent some time building our characters and building kind of like our squad. Just for like a brief top-down kind of like explanation of the setting of Beam Saber, because we are using Autumn Ramsey's default setting. Humanity has exploded out into the stars to the point where they have kind of created 5 gigantic factions that are fighting over the definition of humanity, so to speak, and how humanity should be led. Somewhere in that fight, they discovered Earth again after having left it behind. Right now, compared to the other worlds out in space, Earth is kind of like a small backwater, but with incredible symbolic, significance. So now the 5 factions have descended down to Earth and are kind of like squabbling over it, which is to the chagrin of Earth's inhabitants, who don't really like that this gigantic space war has come down on them. But we kind of decided that, like, the politics, the faction machinations, they're kind of like above your pay grade, because we're here down on the ground, just dealing with our feelings. So the way I kind of want to introduce the characters is I want to introduce them to an anime opening, where basically I'm going to ask each of you to like introduce your characters and then describe what they'd look, at least describe like a shot of what they'd look like in the opening of the TV show of this, like either in action or not in action, if that's okay with folks. And probably, the music is like, some soaring J rock with a heavy dose of strings for some reason, for sure. If that's okay with folks, if people don't want to do that, that's perfectly fine as well. But like, you don't have to describe what your character looks like. It's just what they're doing. Just like what they kind of like, what you think they'd be doing to be shown off in this anime opening. I think we'll probably go like the same order of the sheet. So basically, just introduce your character's deal, names, what they're here for, and what they'd look like when we see them as we open up this TV show. So I guess we will start with yourself, Mike, but at your at your pace.
Yeah, I think introducing Verb. She like it starts with like leather boots, like clomping along the ground, and then like it cuts like to like her like shoulders up, and she has like short but like curly blonde hair and like kind of pale skin, and she has like these like gold tasseled like epaulets, right? And like a cape kind of behind her, and she's walking like with a sort of like regal military gait, and then like her cape kind of like swivels or whatever, and then that is like a wipe to like her mech's like cape swinging, and so then like this like glorious shining knight in armor mech like swings like a big like laser sword, and then like has like these like crackling lightning engines that like engage and like it like blasts through the screen. Yeah, that's Verb's intro.
Actually, I love that we started with Verb because like that it's a very much not a representative of the overall look of the squad.
That's a very wrong expectation.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for whatever reason, like the music is very downbeat at that part, so it's just like, yeah, mostly violins when like things are exploding on the screen.
Yeah. So speaking of the wrong, not wrong, but like not matching the visual aesthetic. When we turn from our ace pilot, Verb, we turn from her to our infiltrator. So, Lara, what do we see of Crux?
So yeah, so I think that we said that the music was kind of violins. I think that when we shift to Verb's intro, we begin to go to tremolo, for those of you who are familiar with the music references. And I think that we like cut to like this image of just Crux's eyes, and they are like purple, and they've got like bags underneath of them, and a very pale, very haggard looking face kind of zooms out, and Crux is kind of like looking off into the distance, like not moving, but you know, in those anime intros, how like the character is stopped, but like the camera is like swooshing past them, so like all of the like background is moving. So that's that, and then I think that it cuts to Crux activating their vehicle, and so we have like the mechanical legs like spring out from the backpack that she's wearing, and I think that we see her scaling various buildings and jumping off into the sunset.
Yeah, yeah, totally fits the knight in shining armor aesthetic. Absolutely. Yeah. I think we're talking this in the chat. But Bethany, if you want to just introduce your character, that's perfectly fine. You have to go to the melodramatic.
I don't know anime. I don't even like anime.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Just if you want just
memorized.
Can we get in like a 90s sitcom version instead, where your character's just like, oh, what's happening?
No, that's not. It's not what I was meaning at all. But I mean, out of character, like I don't know anime.
If you want to just introduce your character, I'm perfectly fine with that.
No. I mean, we can definitely show them doing something, which is like you see whatever the hell the corporate like what do they look like? I don't know, but anyway, we see them. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah, I'm imagining their mechs have a Google aesthetic. So
okay, cool. Yeah. So you see these Google-esque mechs like just circling around searching for something, and there's like you don't even know what they're looking for, and then camera zooms in on this like rough cliff face, and like it has to come in pretty close before you notice this like flat charcoal gray or black mech just like clinging to the cliff face, looking like this, just like I described it as a mosquito last time, but I think it's more like if you've ever seen those moths that blend into bark when they're just like stuck to it, like that. And then eventually they just like give up and go away, and this just detaches from the cliff face and flies away.
Hell yeah. Again, people are like, oh man, we got a knight in shining armor. Oh, we got a spider backpack and
bugs.
Yeah, and a moth. It's really cool. So we got a good flavor of our scout. Hell yeah. And last but not the least, Trev, what do we see of our soldier?
So I think we see Naga. She is sort of lounging on top of her mech with a cigarette. And there's commotion going on around her. The music shifts to like cello rock. You know, it's sort of melancholy, sort of angry sounding. And somebody's yelling at her to basically move out. She flicks a cigarette, jumps in the cockpit, and we just shift to a wide view of her mech, which is like a red crab sort of thing, covered in guns, and just
Hell yeah. Love to have a crab covered in guns. Just love that one. It's a favorite thing of mine. Okay, cool. I think we've got a very good look at our squad. As of yet unnamed, we'll figure out a name for them at some point. But okay, so just to recap again what we've kind of pictured. If folks didn't watch, if anyone who's watching this didn't watch last week, the session 0. This is a recon squad whose reputation is enigmatic. So you can tell from the mechs, yes, they do have an air of mystery amongst them. Their forward operating base is an abandoned metro station in an amusement park, which I assume is abandoned as well. I don't know if you just get in and get out of the amusement park for sure. You've got a few upgrades. You work for the Church of the Celestial Myriad, and yeah, you are all about reconnaissance, espionage, sabotage, or theft, all that fun stuff. So I know for anyone who's watching this, it looks like we barely started, but for us, we've been here for like an hour because we had some last minute stuff to do. So what I'm gonna do is, we've had the anime opening. I'm gonna call for like a quick 5-minute break because also I need some water. So we're gonna we'll come back in 5 minutes, and then yeah, we're gonna see these folks in action. So we'll see you in 5. Okay, so should have done this before getting recording. There's another thing I forgot folks ask to look into in the safety links image tab, the romance table over there. Just be sure. I see some folks have filled that in. Just be sure to like put your name there and see if romance is on the table, so to speak, for yourself. If that's what some folks are interested in. Okay. Also, you'll notice that I put a picture of a city with a bunch of names. I'll just quickly explain. This is kind of like we're going to be setting our campaign. I think we talked about this last week, putting it in a kind of urban. At least at the start, we're gonna start like in an urban landscape. So this Journey City, this is one of the epicenters of the war, because you see that thing in the middle called the tower. That is like one of like the few working space elevators in Earth at the moment. So it's kind of critically important. Right now it's independent of any faction. It's defended by the strongest independent squad out there, the Tower Defenders. But that's not where you are at the moment. Right now, the Church of the Celestial Myriad, they're down south of the river in a place called the Broken Bank, which is kind of it's contested area. A lot of like marauders, criminals, criminals that are backed by corporations and other factions are kind of contesting it. And I'm imagining y'all have like a toehold at next to the river, because why not have your base be next to the river? I assume your amusement park would have sold like hey, here's a boat tour, here's a ferry ride, fun times. So I think what we'll do is we're just gonna like let's see, I'm looking at the time, and like, as much as I like to do folks feel out their characters, we can do this, we can just cut straight to briefing and have your characters just be there waiting for your superior. So I'm going to ask, let's see, but I'll ask you to each add a detail to this briefing room that you're in, because as mentioned, you're underground in an abandoned metro station underneath the amusement park, which is just rad. And probably there's been a lull in action in the past couple of days until yesterday, when you saw this great big fireball just crash like to the west, to the east, wrong direction. I'm thinking the wrong direction. To the east of your base. It crash land on the outskirts of Journey City, so more southeast. And just like this massive explosion. It came from the sky. It's kind of like what you noticed. And as soon as that happened, probably like 10 minutes later, you all got a communique saying, mission briefing tomorrow. We got stuff planned for you. Not in those words, obviously, but pretty much that's the gist. So yeah, when we cut open to the briefing room, what's your character's demeanor? And what's the kind of like a detail you want to add to this briefing room? And it could be like a simple one, like there's a round table, or the cushions have faded tremendously.
Are we going in a particular order, Landon?
You can jump in at any time.
Okay. Because I had an idea. I think it'd be cool if like the only lights that are in here are these like big like yellow fluorescent kind of like ceiling lights. And I think that like the actual room is maybe like, if it's within this tunnel, it's like just sort of a space set aside for that. So it's kind of hard to like see like where the walls are, because there's only the light from these like yellow bars above you. And I think like there's like sort of motion sensors, so like as you walk down the subway tunnel to get to the room, like the lights like turn on one by one and then off one by one behind you. And like every step you take, like all these roaches and stuff like skitter away as the light comes on. And so yeah, you get to the room itself and there's just like one person, or like people waiting, however many there, but like you just see the light like off in the distance above them as you get closer. As far as Verb, like her demeanor, I think it's very disaffected by the surroundings. She's just like very stoic, and yeah, just waiting for those dang orders.
I'll say like there's probably just going to be the four of you. It's the first thing you'll kind of notice when you come into this briefing room. It's like, oh, it's going to be one of those missions.
There's a very faint sound of water dripping, but there's like no obvious source. Like somewhere there's a leaking pipe somewhere underground, and it's close enough that we can hear it, but there's no like water running down a wall or anything. And I think JD is impatient, but not obviously so. Like they're fidgeting, but in small ways. Like they're, they have like a piece of paper and they're slowly and very like, so slow that it is very quiet, like tearing little bits off of it. But, they're like making they're constantly moving, but only like very small motions.
That's really neat.
Uh,
Go ahead.
I think they've got like a holo projector for the briefing, but it's clearly an older model. Like it's very, you know, you can see the lines in it, and you know, it glitches. Like it's not been serviced very well. And Vagabond is sitting in one of the chairs and just, you know, half slouched, just, you know, leaning back in the chair, like, you know, like off, you know, front legs off the floor, sort of thing.
And then I think that one thing that Crux notices is that there's this overwhelming smell. Like it's metallic-y and mildewy, and Crux hates this part of the base. Like it puts her on edge. But I think right now she's kind of leaning up against one of the walls, just kind of taking everything in, kind of slowly tracing her eyes over her company, and just waiting.
Yeah, and I think unless anyone wants to talk to anyone in this room, it's just going to be the four of you waiting. With the dripping sound of the faint dripping sound of water, it's just so annoying, and smell and the lights and this barely working hollow projector. I think it's projecting out this map of the city, and you're all waiting for an uncomfortably long time, until you do hear, but they're kind of used to this. Your superior likes to keep you waiting. At the time it was, ooh, it's mysterious, but now it's just like, yeah, this is just what he does, doesn't it? And I think I think the way he just comes in is kind of like a door will like burst open, just kind of like almost kind of like dramatically, and there's like, there's like a backlight coming from the door, and there stands your superior, who we collectively put together, which is very neat. You know him as the Meridian. He's fairly tall, with a porcelain mask so you've never seen his face, and the mask is like completely blank as well. I imagine though, like, he doesn't like have a hood up. That his face is just, you can see his hair, but his face is just blank. His hair is kind of like this. It looks like it was self-cut. Auburn hair that's like, cut by himself. Not the best look. He has this like amulet. That's kind of like this. I think. Well, conceiving it looks like two wings spreading out. Is what the amulet is on. It's we kind of talked about how the church is a polytheistic religion, and this is like one of the myriads within that church that he worships. And he just kind of like looks at everyone and he says, in his flat robocall monotone voice, "My fellow soldiers, welcome. We have an important task for the four of you to execute. Gather around the map." And he kind of like raises a hand, and it looks majestic, but he's holding a small controller in his hand, and he presses it, and the map kind of zooms into that part of the broken bank where that thing crashed, and a bunch of names and figures come up. But I think you get like a flickering shot of just a crash site, basically. This area that's just like on fire with like lots of bits and bobs strewn about, and the Meridian says, last night, our brethren at up in space managed to score a critical victory against our enemies at Exodus Incorporated. They've brought down one of the space stations they use to collect intelligence and gather information on us, on their enemies, on our allies, on everything they consider to be a threat. We have an opportunity to delve into the wreckage of this space station and retrieve for ourselves the information they have gathered, not just on us, but on themselves and on anyone else they consider a threat, who we could consider a threat as well. And he presses like a button and it kind of like zooms out, and you can see that like the space station has crashed in one of those contested zones between the factions. As you can see, though, the station has crashed into the domain of one of the corporations who works for Exodus. You have tangled with them in the past, and you see like the logo for Takuma Transportation Solutions. It's like a space truck on a star field. That's what their logo is. Actually, no. Yeah, no, I'll commit to that. It's almost like a house emblem, honestly. To be sure, they were caught off guard by the crash of the space station, but they will recollect their senses and soon pick it apart and ensure that nothing of value will be up for grabs. I would like, well, our superiors would like for yourself to get into the crash site, retrieve the mainframe data of the space station, and if possible, and he clicks his fingers on the other hand does not hold a controller, and this like small walker droid and legs comes in, and you can see that like it's carrying like this box. Yeah, it's box that looks like, you slot it into a mainframe. It's like a cube. And he continues, if possible, when you retrieve the mainframe data from the wreckage, to better cover your tracks, replace it with this and feed them false information. And I think like he just stares at you, and you can feel his like gaze, even though you can't see it. He just kind of like has like it's fairly like dead-ish kind of like air around him. Not someone you should trust, basically. You never see his face. Anyone say anything to this to your superior while he's here? Well, if there are no questions, I'll leave you to prepare for the work. Be sure to get this accomplished in the next 24 hours. Hours? No, hours. Yeah, hours. Before anyone will say anything, like he will just kind of like he does it like this gesture where like he clutches like the amulet and kind of like gives you like a long low bow, and the other hand splayed out as it can like bow to you, to the four of you who are about to offer your lives up for the church, which is always fun. And I think like he's gonna leave like the cube and the hollow projector, which can be like manipulated for more info and whatnot. But he's giving you your mission.
Verb just kind of stands there, arms crossed, like looking like the side as he walks away, just like silent attitude.
Easier. Oh, sorry, I thought I saw something underneath there. Yeah, you're all a bunch of Silent badasses. I get it. That's fine. Okay, so we're now kind of like entering into the mission phase. I'll rephrase exactly what the mission is. So the target is Takuma Transport Solutions. The objective is retrieve the Exodus mainframe data from the downed space station and replace it with the false one. Straightforward enough. I think the more you like poke into the map, you find some more info, some more basic info, like your rules of engagement, which basically all missions have a rules of engagement, and they're basically rules you don't want to break, otherwise you lose trust with your faction. And there's only 2 for this one. No threatening or employing force against civilians, and no witnesses to your espionage. So it's fine that they see you, but it's not fine if they see you replacing the data with the fake one. So there's room there. And yeah, those are kind of like very straightforward stuff. So we're kind of like in the pre-mission phase before we kind of jump into it. So there are ways to like, gather info, look into stuff around the area. Like your characters could be like, doing stuff to make sure like there's a better idea of what's there. So what do you think your characters should be doing right before the mission? And again, if you have an idea, jump in. I'm not gonna like call anyone out. And this could be even like simple stuff like talking amongst each other. But if no one has an idea, we can just jump straight to it.
I'm not sure what the condition of the crash site would be and whether this is relevant, but I would like to look for like the layout of this space station.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You can absolutely do that. I guess what I'm curious about is like what does JD do to look into that? I'm going to introduce the allies mechanic here, so that you can introduce NPCs. So there's an easier way to do this. So once per session, you can introduce an ally into the game. You can declare they have an old friend who can help. This can be someone from their past, an NPC that has not yet interacted with them, or a previously declared ally. So would you want to do that, or do you think JD will be doing something else to find this info?
I would totally have an ally who would know. I used to like teach engineering. I definitely have a colleague who worked on these.
Hell yeah. So there's a list of allies in your sheet, but you don't have to follow them. You can replace them. The list of allies starts at row 34, column V. They're suggestions. You don't have to have known them. But yeah. So yeah, you had this colleague in technical college. Describe the scenario of when you last saw them, and then we'll make a roll to see if you're still in good terms with them. It's always fun. So when was the last time you saw this friend of yours?
It was just before I left Earth. And he was trying to tell me that it wasn't like, no, it's not that bad. They're not, the people who disappeared, they were really, they were really up to something. It's not like we don't have to worry. But since I came back to Earth as part of this squad, I've run into him, or I've not talked to him in person. But like, I got a message from him like, "Oh, I'm glad to see you're back. You were right." I don't know, like, I don't think it was, that message went into a lot of detail, but like, I know he's here and I know that like something has happened to change his mind.
Okay, cool. So, this is like proper, you know what, if sometimes like, it says here, like, we should do a roll to see what their circumstances are, but sometimes you just don't want to trust the dice. And if you feel like you have a defined relationship with this friend, that's perfectly fine. We don't have to roll to see if they like you or not, because as you
Oh no, I mean he can totally not like me. I don't.
Okay,
You were
okay.
right. Doesn't mean I like you.
Okay, so those are like the circumstances. So we're gonna do what's called a fortune roll, which means there's no risk into it. So position effect doesn't matter. We're just gonna roll and see what the circumstances are. So I think, let's see. Describe the scenario last saw them. Make a roll appropriate for the circumstances. So which of these pilot actions do you think best fits like when you last saw them?
Let me see this.
You know, or if like this feels slow, we're
actually-
introducing mechanics here. So
I
okay.
think it'd be consort.
Okay. So if you have no dots in consort, what you're gonna do is roll 2d6 and take the lowest.
Okay, and I have no dots in consort, so
Yeah, and it's a fortune roll. So like fortune rolls, there's no risk to them. Like the main thing is that like they just help establish the fiction.
shockingly the lowest is a 5.
See, it's happening. It's happening. I told you. It's just gonna keep really high. No one's gonna earn any desperate XP. Yeah, a 4 to 6 indicates that you're on good terms with the ally and they're likely to help you. So yeah. So what's the message JD sends to this friend who do we have a name for him?
Oh yeah, he needs a name, doesn't he? Let me pull up. the
Yeah,
old
because
random
now that you
name
introduce
generator.
him, that means he can show up again.
Let's give him a name. Let's say he's Jamaican and his name is Clarence. Clarence Silburn.
Yeah. If you don't mind, put them in your list of allies.
Sure.
Yeah, so how do you come in contact with him about this, these schematics you're looking for?
I've never replied to that message, so I finally do. It's like that email that you have to like search through for, I don't, what month was it sent again? I don't remember. I always intended to reply, but I never got around to it.
Yeah. Jeez, that's very relatable. I think as soon as like you reply, he immediately replies back and he says, "Finally," with like 15 dots of a gigantic ellipses. How are things, JD? Another email.
Yeah, sorry, I meant to reply, sooner. I need some information.
I think he sends an email that is just an ellipses.
Yeah.
And then another email just going, "What do you need? What you looking for?"
Do you have any plans, blueprints of, and I give like the space station, make and model.
He sends another email for ellipses, and then another one, and then another one, and then another one. And then he sends you his instant messenger handle saying, can we just talk through here? This is getting annoying. And then you connect to this IS messenger. and he says, "I think I can help you out. But after this, you owe me an actual conversation."
Yeah. Like I said, sorry, I'd love to talk.
Yeah, I'd love to talk with you as well. and then he sends like what he has, which is like the schematics of like what you get is like this space station is ran but yeah, one of Exodus Inc.'s higher tier squads. But it's like it's a generic model that pops up everywhere. The most important thing you'll notice, like when under attack, if it's gonna crash, it detaches into different parts. So, and you see it in the crash site, you see that it's less one big crash site and more like multiple crash sites. Fortunately, the schematics, and because you rolled a 5 here, will kind of point like where most likely the intelligence or where the mainframe data is going to be. So you narrowed it down to like 2 of those crash sites,
Cool.
for sure.
Perfect. That's what I was going for. Like where, yeah, trying to narrow down the location.
Oh, yeah. Cool. All right. I think he sends one last email. It's a longer one, and the email is basically like, I don't know exactly what you're up to right now, but when you're done, be sure to contact me. I would love to have to not update my contacts list.
Yeah, like thank you. I appreciate it. I will talk to you later. Look at the news. I'm sure you can guess what I need this for.
He sends a GIF of he sends a GIF in the email of a dog just going,
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm glad to have an NPC on the board. He seems nice. Cool. All right. So that's what JD was up to, and not everyone has to have a thing done. Like if you feel like your character isn't doing anything to prep for the mission, that's fine. But if you think so, in this ally thing, you can only do it once per session. I'll say that's part of the mechanics. You need more people; it'll be fine. What else are folks doing to prepare for this mission?
So is it just once per person we can do that, or once?
Once per. Let's see. Once per session, a pilot can. Yeah, I guess it doesn't say if like multiple pilots can do that. Let me see. I'm gonna allow at least 2 because like this could take a while setting up these NPCs. I have a weakness for talking. But anyone else wants to do it, I'm gonna allow it like 1 more time, and then we'll probably have to move on a bit.
So I want you to have Vagabond reach out to someone she knows, Rip Static, a hacker that runs with the rubble runts. The last time they interacted, they were actually working on opposite sides of a job, but their gangs had like a friendly rivalry sort of thing.
What are the pronouns?
She, her.
Okay. Yeah. So how do you contact her? And what are you looking for?
I'm just gonna go to a cafe, sort of where I know that they hang out, and I'm looking for information in the area, like what the security measures are, what the defenses might be.
Oh yeah. I think when you meet Rip Static, she walks into the cafe. She's got headphones on, and they're connected to a laptop she's holding under her arm. And she just sees you, and it's just, all right, I guess we have to roll to see what her disposition is to you. What was the action you did last time you saw her?
The last time I saw her, it was probably prowling.
Yeah, just roll 2d6.
Okay.
Again, if you roll a 5 and a 6, I'm gonna like.
I'm just gonna re-roll these ones that are here. 3 and a 3.
A 1 to 3 shows that they don't want to see you, but could be convinced to help. So I think she sees you, and immediately she stomps forward and just sits in front of you and just says, "We call dibs at that place."
I'm not here about that.
Really? You're not here about what crashed down last night?
Okay, I might be here about that.
Of course you are. Well, if you're here, well, the most you're going to get out of me is that, like, you're going to have competition. We call dibs.
You call dibs?
Mm-hmm.
You know that's not how anything works, right?
Well, I can say we call dibs because, unlike you, we're moving ahead in the world and we're already doing what you are meant to be doing. So I can call dibs.
I think Vagabond, usually sort of slouching, sort of gait and, just casual. But she stands up to her full height, and she's pretty muscly, and she's like, you sure you want to test me on this?
Now, this is an action roll. Because there's no risk to this. Because, yeah, it says 1 to 3. They don't want to see you, but could be convinced to help. So let me detail how rolling works here in Forge of Dark. I hope, Trev, you play this, but for everyone else, everyone will have to do these kind of rolls, but I just want to detail the process. So first, you're going to tell me what action you're rolling. As always, pilots get to choose. Players choose what action they're rolling. So what do you think you're rolling here, Trev? Vagabond.
I think I'm rolling command.
Yeah, it seems very clear. Next, I set position and effect. Position tells you how bad things will go if this roll doesn't go well. And there's 3 types of positions. Controlled, which is like you'll be fine. If you get like a mixed success, it'll be fine. Risky, which is kind of like the basic one. You're almost always going to be in a risky position. And then there's desperate, which is just, holy crap, if things go bad, things are going to go real bad. So those are the 3 positions. There's effect, which is basically how effective the action is going to be. And it starts with great, which is fairly explanatory. And then there's standard, which is again the baseline. And then there's limited, which is like, holy crap, you're not going to do so much. This kind of like helps modulate, how much you're going to have effect on the fiction and how much the fiction is going to have effect on you. For sure. Now, why would you want to go into desperate? Because you can trade position for effect. Say you're a risky standard, you want to do better, you can trade for desperate to desperate great. Now, why would you want to do that? Because when you roll a desperate action, you get XP. So it's a good incentive. Bad things could happen to you, but you have XP. So yeah, that's why we do position and effect. Basically, it's kind of like it's a kind of a negotiation with the GM and the player as well, because there are many ways to affect position and effect. There are abilities that can do that. There are items and their quality that can do that, and they're just simple stuff like if you're trying to shoot a flying plane from the ground and it's flying real fast and you don't have like the right equipment, it's a bit limited. It's a bit of a desperate shot, or it could be controlled because it could be the safe spot. So nothing bad's gonna happen to you if you miss, but it's just hard to do that. It's different levers basically. So for here, I think it's gonna be controlled position because you're in a cafe. It's fairly safe. She's not a fighter. She's a hacker. Obviously, that doesn't mean that she didn't bring people with her, but you get the sense that you're gonna caught her on a day off. So I think it's gonna be controlled standard for sure. Having said that, now we go into building the dice pool, because that's what those dots are. They're D6s. There are multiple ways to build a dice pool. You can get an assist from a pilot, but they're not here at the moment, so we can't do that. And then there's 2 ways, which is pushing yourself, which costs 2 stress, and that gets you an extra die. Or you can take a collateral die, which is, if you play trophy, that's what a devil's bargain is. Basically, it's a complication that'll happen regardless of whether you succeed or fail, but you get an extra die. In most Forged in the Dark games, you either choose or. You can either push yourself or take the bargain. But in Beam Saber, you can do both, which is fairly neat. So those are kind of like the main ways to build a dice pool. So even though if you're rolling an action that has no dots, if you have stress to spare, or if you want an extra complication, you can always get at least 1 die. So Treb, Vagabond, do you want to push yourself? Take a collateral die?
I'll take a collateral die.
Okay, so I think this one is fairly simple. Let me double check, because I forgot this game doesn't have heat, so I can't just build heat. I think I'm gonna start a 4-step clock, and it's gonna be yeah, I think it's gonna be actually no, I'm gonna make it a bit easier. It's gonna be a 6-step clock, and it's gonna be race the rubble runs. If that clock fills before you get the mainframe and replace it, they're gonna get to it first. Okay. I should explain. Clocks are like a thing that, like, helps abstract the fiction, so to speak. We'll get to that when we get into it. But yeah, I'm gonna put a clock on the table, and by table I mean the roll for your party. And basically, you're gonna be racing that clock. That clock fills up because of complications and whatnot. They're gonna get to it first. And you're gonna have to deal with that. So yeah, you get an extra die.
Okay.
Controlled standard. You have 2d6. See what you get.
I got a 3.
Oh my gosh. Oh boy. Okay. All right. Let's look at consequences. All right. So there's a lot of consequences there on the table. The nice thing with controlled is that it's not the worst. Like, controlled is it's a minor consequence. That's why we flagged that in the position. It's like, all right, it's not the worst thing. So I think what's just gonna happen is I'm just gonna add a tick to the race the rubble runs clock. And I think she just kind of like gives you this kind of like, she's not as tough as you. That's very clear. You're a badass soldier. She's a badass hacker. There are different levels of badassery happening here. But she just kind of like give you kind of like this playful smirk, because you're all still kind of friends. It's just that, I don't think she's that, whatever happened last time, she's not fond of. And you're still kind of like semi-rivals. Unless you want to declare her an actual rival, because that's an entirely different thing. But probably don't want to do that. I think she just say like, let's see, I'm trying to see how would you say this. Since you're very clearly and kind of desperately fishing for some info, I'll help you out. I'll be nice. So, like you said, we call dibs. So you can have that for free. As we're speaking, Takuma's mobilizing. You can have that for free. And well, if you get there sooner or later, there's probably gonna be a fight with probably another faction if we're not too quick about it. Then again, I know you folks aren't up for fighting. You're much more hiding in the dark, right?
Some of us more than others.
I think I'm imagining she's wearing like these like weird Google glasses. I don't know why. If that's okay to add. Well, no, she's wearing regular glasses, but you can tell they're kind of like Google-esque. They've got like a HUD layout, and I think like she just says like, "Well, here's hoping I do see you over there. Don't really get to see you in action that much, you know."
Here's hoping I don't.
The implicit threat in that. Yeah, so you got some info, but I'm gonna add a tick to that race the rubble runs clock. So that's a fine threat to have there. Okay. Does anyone else want any? I get a feeling like, and I'm perfectly fine with this. That even that we only get to the mission at the very end, we don't finish it because I'm enjoying fleshing out the world and these characters. Just to put that on the table. But if you all want to just get to the mission, I'm also fine with that. But is there anything else anyone to do before we jump into the mission?
I think I would like to track down Crux. I'm not sure where we would meet. Probably somewhere on the base. Yeah, but I'll just, if I bump into you, I guess, say, well, Creak, looks like I'm going to be the distraction again.
I think Crux looks you up and down. You're normally a distraction. Look at that cape.
Well, we are who we are, aren't we?
Indeed.
In any event, I was wondering. I have a feeling that either you or JD will be the first to get their hands on that data. What do you think is on it? Aren't you curious?
Well, I don't really wonder about that kind of thing. I keep my head down and I do my job. And if I happen to come across information that I find interesting, I pocket that, but try to avoid trouble. Mostly.
Can I ask, what are your beliefs about each other?
Mine is with Crux. We were both victims of experimentation. Can I convince her to follow my path? My path being my drive to become a machine.
Yeah, and my beliefs about Verb is this one has lost it, gone off the deep end. Do not trust, be wary.
Okay. Sorry to just interrupt. I just want to be sure that the audience and the table knows what they think of each other.
Sorry, I think my internet was bugging real quick. Did you ask a question, Leandro?
No, I just wanted to like have that out to the table so that people know like where they're coming from while they're talking.
What did you say, Laura? Then sorry.
Oh, I think Crux is gonna say, do you have any insight into as to what is on that?
No, but I do have a healthy curiosity.
I think you and I have different definitions of healthy.
Yes, your hesitancy is a survival skill. I understand. But the church, they keep many things from us. I don't like that.
I can't say that I'm too fond of it either. There's a lot that I want to know and a lot that I intend to find out. However, I also have a strong sense of self-preservation. You seem to lack that, my friend.
Well, there's always a few bumps and scrapes along the way to growth. Staying the same equilibrium, that only leads to entropy. If you want to grow, if you want to change, if you want to, you're going to have to take some risks and some initiative, don't you think?
Yes, I suppose that's true.
Just a thought. If you come across that data cube, maybe before you hand it off to the Meridian, take a peek. I would make it worth your while. If I survive, that is.
Crux is gonna. Yeah. I'll keep that in mind.
God. I think we can call it there unless there's anything else. What's that? Jesus Christ. Wow. Can't wait for them to cut loose and hang out and relieve stress together. Okay. All right, cool. I think let's jump into engagement for this mission. Okay. Let me read through how that works. I guess we have the target, which is we have the target and the objective, the rules of engagement. We need the next thing we need is the tactic. That is the method that the squad is going to use to accomplish the objective. This is a general strategy and requires a detail that explains how the mission opens. Basically, we choose this to give me the tool to see where you're going to end up depending on the engagement role. We don't have to plan out the entire strategy. We don't have time for that. Our characters have probably done that, but all we need basically is the tactic, which in your sheet, it's in the character sheet, it's in row 65, starts with V. It's under planning and load. Choose a plan. So they kind of that tells you our general approach and the detail, which is going to help flesh out where you might end up depending on the engagement role. That's what this is for. If there's any details or specific tactics that you say your characters have planned, that's what flashbacks are for. We'll get to that. But for now, we just need something broad. So the types of tactics are: there's assault, which is open violence against the target, and the detail will be the point of attack where y'all are fighting. There's deception, which is luring, tricking, and manipulating the target. The detail is the method of deception. There's scientific, which is engaging with technological power. The detail is the unusual procedures used. There's social, which is when the squad negotiates with, bargains with, and persuades the target. I don't think that's going to happen here to this one. I don't think so. There's stealth, which is for taking action undetected. The detail is the point of infiltration. And then there's transport, which is carrying cargo and people through danger. The detail is the route and the means. So, and this is kind of a player level kind of decision, for sure, that we kind of flesh out when we zoom in. Well, what do you think that method is going to be for this one? Yeah, if anyone has an idea, feel free to put one. I think there's fairly obvious ones because of the makeup of your group and what they can do. But I want to hear one of y'all say it. That's a weirdly threatening thing to say. Sorry.
Say it. Yeah, I think the action that Verb will be taking will be deception and trying to provide a distraction, lead these people we're competing with or any other interested parties, make them think that where she's going is the prize, because it sounds like there's a little bit of vagary that we've managed to clarify, but others may not know exactly where this precious data is. So if I gotta go a slightly different direction, I think that will draw more people away from the rest of the team.
That makes sense. Is everyone good with deception?
And I'm sorry, I just wanted to make sure. You said player level. Does that mean we individually come up with a plan for our own pilots?
Collectively, we're going to come up with the plan that all the pilots.
Oh, well, let me check in with you folks. Then. Is that like a cool thing, or did you have something else in mind? Yeah, I didn't mean to speak for everyone there.
No, I mean that sounds like a good at least start to a plan.
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't have to fill out the entire plan. We'll
Yeah.
fill out as we go along, but it sounds like a good start. Because the thing with engagement is like it sees whether you get through the first the first obstacle, and the plan and the method. That's the flavor basically. Why we do gather info is to better explain what detail we could have, to better flesh out the mission. That's kind of like why we do these sort of things. Okay, so we've got the tactic and the detail, deception, and the detail is what seems like the recurring thing, which is Verb makes a scene and everyone does the work. Just fab. Next, you pick your loadout. Loadout is the amount of gear that each pilot is bringing on the mission. Each pilot decides if they're going to carry a light, which is load 3, a medium, which is load 5, or heavy, which is load 6 for themselves. A light load will mean that the pilot is quicker and less conspicuous, able to blend with civilians. A medium load makes the pilot look like they're well equipped for a difficult task. Heavy looks like they're packing and they're ready to have a fight, for sure. How this will this stuff like load, not only determines how many items you can bring, because you have all those items, you just declare which one you have at the moment, which is nice. But it also determines certain position effects. So say you're wearing heavy load and you try to run up a building, chasing down a guy, parkouring through the building. Yeah, you're gonna have limited effect if you have heavy load, that sort of thing, But of course, that means you can carry more items, you can bring more armor. I would say that each box represents like one load. And if a box is like, if there's 2 boxes together, that means they cost 2 load. Fairly straightforward. Because this is also your first mission, you will declare your vehicle's load. This is different from pilot load because the vehicle's load is set in stone. To change it, you're going to need to work in between missions. But because it's the first mission, you kind of got to decide how much does a vehicle usually carry. So a big decision, but I'm down with going for whatever you pick. It's your vehicles. So I'll give you a moment to think about those. Pilot load starts at row 33 in column AQ, and then vehicle load is at row 44, starts at like column AF. So you just check those and and be ready to rock and roll. Damn big mech. He's a damn heavy mech. Yeah, if you don't know what each gear means, like there's a note telling you what they are. Maybe just hover over each of one. And like I said, you don't pick your items now. You pick them as you need to. Like, oh, I just happen to have a Palm computer with useful programs, or a rifle in my pocket. That sort of thing. And with pilots, you always kind of like refresh in between each mission, so like you get those items back. For vehicles, it's a bit trickier because again, they're machines. Sadly, you can't just refresh when you need to change your rims when your sweet ride. What the hell am I saying? Okay. Just double check. All right, I think everyone. I'll wait for Mike to come back because he had to plug in the internet. Oh yeah, Vagabond. I know the interaction didn't go too well, but be sure to put in your hacker friend as an ally because you declare them as an ally. Yeah, sure, you can declare them as a rival later, but you don't have to do that. You're still kind of friends, but it's a friend. Okay. All right. I guess I should actually ask if folks have any rivals they want to declare, because rivals are kind of like a big thing, and if you normally like in normal Beam Saber at there's two choices when it comes to rivals, which is kind of like the characters who are opposed to you. You can either like create one from the start, or as we go on, you can declare an NPC a rival. The thing is, rivals are a big damn deal. They can show up at any time, and the minimum clock to defeat them is 8 steps. And also, it's very hard to defeat them permanently. They're absolutely the recurring bad guy who is opposed to you, who comes in to mess with your shit. They also get free consequences in that they can inflict failure states at you at any time. Don't worry, there's a limit number of failure states they can inflict for free. So I'm just saying, if you want to declare a rival now, that's fine. But if you don't want to right now, if you want to think over that, we can lay that for now. I'm just mentioning it out loud. Okay, so everyone's picked load. Okay, cool. So now we go into the engagement role. After the mission is planned, play jumps right into action. We catch up with the squad when they encounter the first obstacle. To see how severe the situation is when the squad gets into it, we make an engagement roll. This is a fortune roll. It starts with 1 dice or plain old luck, and then we go through like a series of parameters to modify the dice pool and see how we go. So the first question is the mission bold? This is for the table. I think the mission's bold. It seems kind of standard for y'all. Yeah, get in, steal a thing, place it, get out. So no +1 die. Sorry. Oh, go ahead, JD. So you're on mute there.
Oh no, I was agreeing. I think that this is pretty much what we do. I don't think it's bolder than usual.
Yeah, fair enough. If you were infiltrating the space station while still up in the sky, that would be bold.
Yeah.
As it's crashing, that would be incredibly bold, but sadly not. Idea for the future. Write that down. That would actually be an amazing mission. Why did I think of that? That's too late. It's crashed. Is the mission especially complex? I don't think so. It's, again, fairly straightforward. So you neither get a die nor lose a die. Because if the mission was bold, you would have got an extra die. If the mission was complex, you would have lost a die. You're still at 1. Does the mission exploit the target's vulnerabilities? Yeah, you kind of caught them in the middle of cleaning up. Because, they're gearing up like, shit, we got to clean up this space station. So I'm going to say yes. So you get an extra die for that. Is this mission's tactic ineffective against the target? The tactic being deception. No, it's proven. I think because I'm gonna say because you've got some history. You're a tier 1 squad. You've got a reputation. It's kind of proven. It's ridiculous. Fuck off. Knight armor, knight mech. It's ridiculous. Does the squad receive external support for the mission? You did. You get 1 die, and JD talked to their friend. Who is this? Who was just being passive aggressive for the heck of it. He doesn't not like you. He was just having fun. And you kind of, I guess, got support from Rip Static, from Vagabond's hacker friend. But the next question is, anyone interfering with the mission other than the target? Yes. There's a clock for that. So you lose a die. So you're back to 2. Are there any factors that affect the mission? Take +1 die for one that benefits the squad and -1 die if it hinders them. I will say, hinder you is that Takuma Transport is 2 tiers higher than you. You all asked for this. you all wanted this. You chose that goal, so you lose a die. Sorry, so your engagement rolls at 1 die. Who wants to make the roll? If not, I'll pick someone. Probably one of the 2 who hasn't rolled. I'll pick Crux. I'll go with you. So Crux / Creak, why don't you roll me a d6?
So that was a 1.
Amazing. Oh, that's great. 1 is okay. You're gonna start in a desperate position, which is fab. So let me explain again how this will work. Yeah. The engagement role is based on the fact that the pilots are skilled survivors and have cleverly prepared for the first obstacle. There is no need for sneaking closer, checking traps, etc., etc. The result of the engagement role will cover those details so that the game can jump into action in the first challenge. If the result of the engagement role is 1 to 3, the starting position of the squad is desperate. Then the GM will craft the scene to reflect the position the squad find themselves in. This position only lasts as long as it makes fictional sense. So you can get yourself out of a desperate position, but yeah, okay, all right. Let's do this. So I think the mission is gonna be. I think it's afternoon. It's a salty, humid kind of afternoon day. For some reason, I'm imagining Journey City is like kind of Mediterranean, if that's okay with folks. So it's just, ugh. You better hope your mechs are air conditioned. At least with Crux, it's just a backpack. Or a very nice heavy duty backpack, but still. But yeah, I think when we cut in, we see that like the crash site is expansive for sure, because there's a lot of crash sites. You have narrowed it down to 2 for sure, thanks to Clarence's info. But what the thing is, like, like you said, you have that info of what the research state or the space station is like, so the Rubble Runs will know about it. But Takuma is like of that faction, so they also know about it. So I think when we open up, I guess I want to ask Verb, like, how do you usually like be a distraction? Like, I kind of know what the flavor of how she does about being a distraction.
So I took an ability, Red Comet, which basically says that as a pilot, I have a reputation. So I think that in this sector, at least, like Verb and her vehicle are like well known. So if I like make my presence known, cape and shining armor and all, people like have a certain expectation.
Yeah. So I think when we cut in, we have what's the name of your mech?
The Miracle Engine. What is it? Miracle Engine Frame X2 Immortal.
Wow. So I think we get a shot of the X2 Immortal kind of like standing at the edge of like the first like crash site, and there is like a haze of fire kind of like surrounding this kind of like scene. And I think I think when you're present, do you just show up, or do you like declare something, or because you can just it's fine if it's just showing up.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of like overlooking maybe like a slightly like higher point, and I'm just looking to see, like, I'm looking for like dust clouds, like any indication that other parties have arrived yet and are like kind of racing.
Yeah, well, the other party gets to you because again,
Oh,
you're in a desperate position. I think.
okay.
I think like you're kind of like at the outskirts of this crash site, and I think when we cut in, you see that like you Verb are surrounded.
Well, mission accomplished, I guess.
You're surrounded by like 4 mechs, 3 on the ground and 1 flying up in the air. And let me find the picture of these mechs. If you look at the links tab, there's a Pinterest board of a bunch of different mechs. Just for funsies. And I guess we've described these mechs because they're for the color photography. They're kind of Google-esque. It's not exactly Apple mechs, but they're fairly generic in the sense that they've got 2 legs. Their hands are like guns. They've got like a bulbous kind of like cockpit, and those 3 are surrounding you. But the one floating above, you can tell, is kind of like unique. It's this kind of like harpy looking mech. It's kind of like floating eerily. I put a link to a picture in the chat. So that's where you're starting off, Verb. And I think like the person in the pilot in the harpy mech will just kind of like call out to you, and it's like this electronic like voice. You know how it is in Gundam where somehow mech pilots can talk to each other despite not explaining how. It's just like cut-ins. It's so weird. This mech pilot just called in this like kind of like electronic voice, and just kind of like slowly just say like, the Miracle Engine Frame X2 Immortal. The one who creates miracles in the field.
So, like, my cockpit is in the head of the robot, of course, for this. And, like, there's, like, this faceplate with, like, 4 eyes that are, like, sensors or cameras or whatever. And, like, it, like retreats back. And it's just, like, to show, like, me in the cockpit, like, facing them. I think I just say, have you made peace with your maker?
I think we see a shot of the harpy physically bristling, which is so weird because, mechs usually there's a delay. When the pilot bristles, the mech does not bristle with them. So that's weird. Before we see what happens there, I think I'll cut to the other 3. I think, and because even though you're in a desperate position, I'm going to show like exactly what the obstacle is, and you can tell me how each of your characters are responding. I think you are getting close to where the crash site you think are where the data is, but I think you also see a firefight is happening. you see that like there is like this what looks like a gigantic like cube, kind of like, you know, it's something that's definitely came in part of the space station, like a cube that had crashed and its contents have like spilled out. So there's a lot of like rubble and detritus scattered about. And standing on the remains of that cube is another of those Takuma mechs, not the harpy one, but like the more generic ones. And they're firing on towards your direction, I would say, but they're not firing at you yet. They're firing at a bunch of the rubble runts, whose mechs are definitely much smaller. They're like smaller versions of this big Takuma mech. And it's always like if it's a lot of images going at once, feel free to like ask for clarifications. But here's kind of like the desperate position. Takuma is already at the place where you think the data is, and they're firing at the rubble runs. Okay, I think I'm going to ask first. We'll leave Verb for where she is at the moment. And yeah, I'll just ask any of the three, what do you do? Go ahead, JD.
Take advantage of them fighting each other to sneak in.
Hell yeah. So the funny thing is, even though you have vehicles, you're not like obliged to bring them out to every mission. You can say, oh, I had a flashback where I stashed them beforehand, or I call them onto me. So like, tell me, how are you taking advantage of this, JD?
Yeah, I think I can notice this from a distance and like land and stash the vehicle, and yeah, it's like sneak in on foot.
Okay, cool. All right. So it's going to be tough because you are a pilot, you're a person, and there are these giant mechs.
Right. I'm hoping that because like they won't be looking for people.
Yeah, no, that is good. What action you're rolling? So you're rolling as a pilot, so you can pick from a pilot action. What do you think you're rolling?
Let me look at these.
You can ask for sure for suggestions if you don't exactly. I would say this sounds like a prowl, but if you're sneaking in.
Yeah, I think it is. Yep.
Okay. All right. So prowl. This is going to be desperate.
Okay.
The mech is firing. You're in so close proximity to get into like the ruins of this research station, and things are on fire. Rubble runs are firing back. Good luck.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I'm like staying as close to the things that are on fire as possible without actually burning myself, because like in case they have infrared scanners, they won't pick me up, because I mean the heat will completely wipe out, you know, the signature of human body heat. But yeah,
but
like that just makes it more dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So okay, so it's gonna be desperate. I'm gonna say standard effect because this is what you've done, and there's enough of a firefight that like you can possibly sneak through. Okay, so we've set position effect. Now we build the dice pool. Is anyone helping JD with this infiltration? I'm gonna ask you to Crux or Vagabond.
I think Vagabond would probably add some fire to that firefight to increase the distraction.
Hell yeah. Okay, so assisting costs 1 stress, but you get to choose whether to give them an extra die or a better position or effect.
So the position right now is desperate, but what's the effect?
Standard.
Okay.
They're at 1 die. Because their power is 1.
Okay, I'll give it an extra die then.
Cool. So you have 1 bonus die. Now, JD, do you want to push yourself, which costs 2 stress, or take a collateral die, which is a complication, or both?
I'll push myself. Why not?
Cool. That costs 2 stress. So mark 2 stress.
Where do I mark stress?
It's at row 12, starts at column E. See those boxes.
Oh, I see.
2 stress. So that gets you 2 bonus die. So it's 3d6.
Cool. Okay. A 2, and a 6. I'm real glad I took that bonus die.
Oh yeah. So because you rolled a desperate action, you're gonna get XP in your prowess track. You see those boxes next to the word prowess? Yeah, take 1 box there. When you fill that up, you can add an extra action dot to any of the actions in the category. So that's why you want to roll desperate actions, because it gets your XP in that. Cool. Okay. So you rolled a 6. There we go. See, there we go. You rolled a 6. It's all good. So can you describe what it looks like when you sneak into the research station? The ruined bits.
Yeah, I think it's like running from burning piece of rubble to burning piece of rubble. Getting so close that like you can see occasionally my clothes get singed, trying to like both stay close to them to be out of sight and to be out of any kind of scanners they might have. And it's like wait, run like hell, wait all the way across here.
Jesus. But yeah, you're gonna get into the research station, and then your success has revealed the clock. It's simply called find the data. There's an exclamation mark. That's why I say it like that. And I'm gonna start by filling this up with 1 tick. The success on standard effect means you made the clock appear and you fill it up with 1 tick. That's how I'm interpreting it. So basically, you fill that clock, you find the data. Simple enough. I'm gonna go to Crux. Or I guess since we're in mission, we should use our call signs. So JD is now Moonshine. There's Vagabond, Verb, and Creak. So just to say it out, Verb is like taking care of the big fuck off shiny mech. Vagabond is adding their fire into this firefight between Takuma Transport and the rubble runs. JD has snuck into the research station. Creak, what are you up to?
I think that Creak is probably also going to try to follow suit into the research station. But I'm going to be using my mech. So I'm using my spidey legs, and I'm going to try to vault on over there.
That's fair. So I'm glad actually you did this, because if you were going to do it together, it would have called for a group action. But because you're using your mech, we can't do that because you're using your mech. There's a difference. Okay, so you are using, basically you want to follow suit with JD. Okay, cool. So you're going to roll a mech action, which is maneuver. Or actually, I shouldn't pick, but it sounds like maneuver. But like, what action are you rolling?
Yeah, no, maneuver sounds right.
Okay. Move your vehicle with skill and agility. All right. I think because you're in your mech, you're in a less the desperate position will only last for as long as the fiction. Because Vagabond is firing, that means you have more cover, so you're now in a risky position, I'd say. And I think it's going to be risky standard. Actually, no, I think it's risky great. If JD was like standard because they're sneaking through, you're using your spidey legs. So it's going to be great effect. See, there is like a scale difference when you use your mechs, But the difference is like if JD used their mech, it's a bit more noticeable because it's a moth thing. But while Creak's mech is a spidey thing. Yeah, a lot of factors, but I don't know why I enjoy having all these factors in my head. It's fun to figure that out. So it's risky great. Do you want to Vagabond, you want to assist as well? Is anyone assisting this? If not, that's perfectly fine. Cool. So do you want to push yourself? Take a collateral die, Creak?
I'll push myself.
Okay. All right. So there is a difference when you're pushing yourself in a mech. I should explain that first. So you remember when you push yourself in a pilot action that costs stress, but in a mech, it costs you a quirk. You exhaust one of your 4 quirks to push yourself in a mech. So you will use up one of your 4 quirks.
Okay. I think that's valid.
So yeah, just check a box on one of your quirks. Which one do you think?
I think I'll use spindly speed.
Of alliteration. Yeah. Hell yeah. Spindly speed. And that gets you another die. You can also choose to take a collateral die, which is, again, to explain, it's a complication that will happen regardless of the result of the die.
How many die am I at with this? It would be
2.
2?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you would want, a success is anything above a 3. 4 to 5 is a mixed success, and a 6 is just a success.
I'll stick with the 2 die and see how that goes.
Yeah, you're in a risky position, so it's not the worst thing.
Yeah. All right.
2d6. That's a 4. So it's still a success, but there's going to be a complication. So what does this look like when you spider crawl your way into the station?
Yeah, so I think that I'm like I start off just like I think that the spider legs like lunge out super low to the ground, or just kind of like skittering across the landscape. And then I think that at one point they end up like having to bounce over like fire like things, and so it's like a bouncy mech. And yeah.
So I think the consequence is gonna be okay. The nice thing with the consequences here is like they actually break it down to be like, oh, here's the list you get when you get risky. You can choose from the controlled as well. What more? So I'm gonna hit you with 2 controlled consequences. One of them is I'm gonna start a new clock. It's going to be it's a 4-step clock. It's going to be called Takuma Reinforcements. So you're going to be, that mech is going to be joined by another if this clock fails. And the other consequence is I'm going to add a tick to that Race the Rubble Runs clock. That seems fair for us for a mixed success. Okay, but yeah, you will be able to join. You'll be able to join JD into the research station, for sure. What I'm imagining is that, like, we can have a scene between the 2 of you at the moment. But I think I will cut away from there and describe the insides of this destroyed space station. I think I'll cut to Vagabond. So you've added your fire. Who are you firing at?
Takuma.
Oh, Takuma.
Firing at the Takuma.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Why would you fire at the rubber runs? All right. So now that we know that, yeah, what are you up to? Your plan is going somewhat smoothly. At least 2 of your teammates have gotten in. Verb surrounded, but that's her deal. Vagabond, what are you up to?
So I'm just gonna like fire like a particle cannon basically at the Takuma.
I should give that name, that mech, a name. I think the model is a boss type, is what it's called. They're the generic grunts of Takuma transport boss type mech.
I forgot to say my mech's name is the Subtle Touch.
Fantastic. And I assume Creak's mech is just all legs. Well, you wrote down the name was all legs, baby. Fun times. All right, cool. Are you declaring a vehicle gear?
Yeah, I'm declaring directed energy weapon.
Hell yeah. All right, this is very straightforward. What are you rolling?
So I think I'm rolling destroy.
Yeah, hold on. Okay, yeah. It's not close quarters. Yeah, I've heard debates over battle versus destroy. Like, oh, it's destroy. Is it kind of like destroying a building compared to destroying whatever? I don't care. Yeah, I think you're using overwhelming destruction to your vehicle, using it direct, and it's not close quarters because it's still a bit of ways away. That's perfectly fine. I think this is still kind of desperate because this thing is standing on top of the remains of this space station where your friends are. Things could go pear-shaped. And
okay, it's appropriate for me to push then.
if you want to, I'm not gonna make you. I'm just saying it's a desperate standard. Well, yeah, desperate standard, let's say.
Push is 2 stress, yeah?
Not if it's a mech action. You're gonna exhaust a quirk.
Oh. Okay. Quirk. Bristling with weapons.
Makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you get an extra die that puts you up to 3d6. Desperate standard. Want to take a collateral?
I'll go with the 3.
Okay, cool. Desperate standard.
It's a 4.
Hey, yeah, 4 is still a success. Okay. So I think oh yeah, and get an XP. Because you rolled a desperate action. Hell yeah.
Set that to expertise.
Yes. Okay. So I think what happens? Let me look at these desperate consequences. Which is that they're not great. I think they see you fire this big fuck off like energy weapon, and it's going to smash through this boss mech, this Takuma mech. Just call it boss type. Sorry, I'm trying to feel that in my mouth. And it's going to smash through. And I think the consequence that I'm going to pick from this list is adjust a clock by 3 ticks. I think you're going to sear through this mech, and I'm going to add 2 ticks to the Takuma reinforcements and 1 to the raise the rubble runs clock. Because your fight with this Takuma mech has been distracting enough that the rubble runs are getting around to finding the thing as well. And you searing a mech being like, oh shit, there's something happening there. We gotta send reinforcements. You can choose to resist that consequence. Here's another mechanic. Sorry, if there's a lot of mechanics, there's a reference sheet in the drive folder, but I'll explain it now. Resisting, you can always resist a consequence. That's a resource that a pilot has. And any consequence can be resisted. It just costs you, depending on either stress or quirks. So you can resist these ticks happening. And how resistance works is I'm going to pick an action category. So, either resolve, prowess, or whatnot. And if it's a pilot action, I'd get you to do a roll. But for quirks, for mech action, I'd get you to exhaust 4 quirks minus how many action ratings you have behind this dotted line. You see next to expertise, there's a number, 2 quirks, 1 quirk, or whatnot. That's how many quirks I'd ask you to exhaust. So to use Vagabond as an example, I pick expertise as a category. If you want to resist this consequence, all these clocks ticking, you would be exhausting 1 quirk, because it's 4 quirks minus the action dots you have, and you have a dot in battle and a dot in destroy. Actually, that'd be 2 quirks. Sorry, yeah, to resist that. It's a lot. It's again, I'll go through this every time. There's a consequence you need to resist. Yeah, it's a lot. I'm explaining this now to Trev because I know you've played Forge in the Dark before, so you get the general gist. But yeah, it's a lot to explain. I'll get to it when there's really severe consequences.
I think I'll take the consequences.
Okay. Yeah, it is just clock ticks, you know. Don't want to waste your quirks right now. Okay. Raise the rubble runs and attack my reinforcements. Okay, so I think what we're gonna do today is we're gonna go back to Verb, and then I'm gonna ask you to have like a final shot of each character as we kind of like close on a cliffhanger for this mission. So Verb, you've asked this floating harpy mech to having make praise or maker, and I think you just get a very derisive sort of electronic braying ugly laugh as they say like don't you see, you antiquated relic, we are our own makers now. We have no need of whatever gods you pray to. What do you do?
Then let us begin. I probably, it's probably not necessary, but like, for the sake of anime, I probably have to like call out my special attack, whatever. So I think I say like, Miraculous Engine, engage, or something, and then lightning starts to like crackle across the surface of the armor. Yeah. I'm happy to like leave a cliffhanger on that. We don't have to make the roll today.
Let's make the roll so we know where you'll end up, because you've not rolled an action.
Yeah.
Okay, so what action are you rolling with? You're in a mech, so.
So what I want to do is essentially like, and maybe this is trying to accomplish too much with one thing, but I want to like intimidate this harpy pilot by like just like wrecking these like grunts.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's totally fine. You can say that you don't want to engage the harpy mech. You can engage the grunts because there's 3 of them. That's perfectly fine. What action are you rolling with?
So I'm guessing this would be battle?
Yes. When you battle, you engage in vehicular close quarters combat. What are you fighting with?
Yeah, I think I have like a beam saber. I think it's like literally like it like has like a curved kind of like saber shape. Like at the tip, it kind of curves a bit. And it's got like a little like handle with like the hand guard or whatever. Very like ornately shaped thing, and then out comes the saber. And like I have like hands for the mech, so like it's like wielding it like a sword.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Okay, so I think mark off which one of your vehicle gear you think fits that. It's probably like a melee weapon or 2 or a directed energy weapon.
Right.
Okay. There are 4 mechs in front of you. So you're in a desperate position. I'm going to say, I think it's going to be standard because you're an ace and you're targeting the grunts. But the desperate position is because you're kind of letting yourself, your back is turned towards the harpy mech, so to speak.
Yes. Now, is this a situation where, because I'm trying to impress someone, I can take the +1 die from Red Comet?
Yes, I will let you have that. I'm usually generous with these sort of things. If you're trying to impress someone using your reputation, take a +1 die. I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah.
Do you want to push yourself? Take a collateral die?
Definitely will push myself.
Okay.
I think I'll use those thundering engines like as a thing to exhaust here, because I've sort of released the engine. Unleashed, I suppose. And then
Hell yeah. So
I love a collateral die. Sure, just give it to me.
Okay. All right. The collateral is that you're gonna, we'll see what happens with engage these mechs. I think you're gonna destroy them because you're the ace, but I think the collateral is gonna be you're gonna take damage as you do it because this harpy ain't messing around. They are going
Yeah.
to attack if you're turning your back to them. You can take a level 1 damage.
Cool. And that's something I could mitigate with a not reaction. What's it called?
Resist roll?
Yeah. Or not if it's for the collateral.
Not if
die.
it's a collateral die, because you're
Okay.
taking on this complication. Yeah.
But I could mark off armor.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, that sounds like 4 dice then.
4 dice. Yeah. The more you get used to this mechanics, the more like this negotiation becomes a bit easier. But normally, yeah, go for as much dice as you can. 4 dice is pretty good. Desperate
Okay.
standard.
Let's see it. I'm gonna roll these yellow ones here.
Wow!
Yahtzee.
Wow! 4 3s.
Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
my god! Oh my!
Yeah.
I guess we got a cliffhanger then. You charge forward with these 3 mechs, but I think before you can even get to them, the harpy lands down on your cape as it's blowing back, and will kind of like it'll kind of like grab onto it and drag your mech backwards as its body twists backwards and kind of grabs you into like this like encircling hug. And you just hear this mech pilot in their electronic voice just go, "Where's your maker now?" And I think we go into the ending theme. As this is happening, I do want to see like a final shots of all the other pilots as well. I'm going to describe very briefly the inside of these wreckage when JD and Crux, when you get on JD, Moonshine and Creak. We're in mission territory. You got call signs. Let's use them. I think the inside of this research station, you can see the floor. It's like 4 floors worth. It's fairly big. This piece that's crashed down, and I think there's a pulsing kind of like light on the walls, kind of like this strange neon, almost heartbeat like pulse. What's kind of like the last we see? What's like the demeanor as this mission continues? Obviously, of each pilot.
I think JD has that document from Clarence out and is like comparing it and like looking at different equipment and like trying to locate exactly where the mainframe would be.
And then Creak comes in their spider mech.
Yeah.
In their spider backpack.
Yeah, no, I think that Creak like deactivates the legs and comes back down into the more human form. And you said that there's like this heartbeat kind of pulsing throughout the station, right?
Yeah, there's this neon light pulsing on the walls. So there is like lighting in this ruined space station, but it's kind of whenever it's like the rhythm of a heartbeat. And
Yeah.
the light pulsing.
Yeah. So I think that Crux actually, like as soon as they enter, their own heartbeat begins to match it, and there's this like eerie feeling of like I don't know, like deja vu or something. And so she's kind of like deer in the headlights at the moment.
Verb, don't forget to mark XP for that desperate roll. Mark it in your expertise. Vagabond. I think you burn through this Takuma boss type, and I think the rubble runs are kind of like, holy shit. They're like these smaller like bipedal mechs as well, but they're like a foot smaller than the boss type, barely up to like yours. What do we see of Vagabond?
So I think Vagabond is sort of kicked back in her pilot seat, just flicks on sound system, starts playing some loud rock music, and she's looking at the radar display, and there's more Takama mechs incoming.
Yeah. I think there is a noise that goes over when you're playing the music and you see the mechs coming. I think you do hear this like electronic shrieking coming from where Verb is. And I think, yeah, you hear that as well, Verb. As soon as after the harpy mech pilot, it's like, where's your maker now? And the mech lets out this like horrible electronic shriek. If that's okay, we can close it there unless we want to see what's Verb's reaction. But yeah,
He's like, Nani?
What? Hell yeah! All right, cool. All right, I think it's the end of the session. We should do XP because Blades in the Dark we do extra XP triggers for the end of each session. We go through them. So I'm gonna go right to left this time on the character sheet. And I'll start with our soldier. So Naga, the XP is row 49, starts at column V. As mentioned, every time we roll a desperate action, mark XP in an action's attribute. Naga, did you address a challenge with violence or coercion? You mark XP whenever you do it once, and if you do it multiple times, you mark 2 XP. And you can put those at either your playbook XP or any of the 5 categories. There's a lot.
I think I did both.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean the coercion didn't work, but you did it. So yeah, 2 XP. Did you express your history, tragedy, or opening?
I think I expressed my history by interacting with old gang contacts.
Old gang contacts didn't have a fun for you, so that's 1 XP. Did you struggle because of your beliefs, scars, or quirks?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's fair. Like, it's always kind of like slow going at the start, getting XP, because like you get used to like, what do we want to express to get XP in the session? But yeah, that's perfectly fine. I'll probably somewhere in the middle of this series. I'm gonna be like, feck it, get an advancement, but we'll get to that. But yeah, I think that sounds good. Next, JD. So, did you address a challenge with exploration or violence? Exploration can be broad.
Yeah, I think exploration is probably fits what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. You could say explore old contacts, but that might be a bit of a stretch.
I think that goes into the next one.
Yes, yeah. Did you express your history, tragedy, or opening?
Yeah, I think
you expressed your history and your tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
So you get 2 XP for that.
Cool.
And did you struggle because of your beliefs, scars, or quirks? Scars are something you pick up when you get too much stress, so don't worry about
that. No, I don't think so.
Okay, but something to keep in mind in the future, because you've got your beliefs about your teammates, and you've got your quirks. If you have your mech with you, so that's something to keep in mind. And again, as well, you can either put on your playbook XP, which if that fills up, you get an extra special ability, or you can put it in any of your categories. And those fills up, you get an extra action dot to put under that category. So Crux, did you address a challenge with stealth or evasion? No, sorry, evasion. No, evasion? No, I can't think of another Simpsons reference. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think that doing my Spidey crawl across the battlefield is pretty stealthy.
you wanna say that like you not respond you were trying to avoid verbs questions is a kind of evasion. Yeah, I'll give that to you. I try to be generous because it's hard to get XP sometimes, but I'll give if you want, I'll give you that XP. It is a kind of evasion.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you 2 XP for that. Did you express your history, tragedy, or opening?
I think in that last scene, I definitely did. Like deer in the headlights shot.
Mm. Yeah, I know. I'll say like because that came from you. So feel free for like if anyone wants to add in their stuff into what's happening because like I didn't have because you adding like your heartbeat matching to that was from yourself, and that's perfectly fine. That's actually very lovely, very helpful, honestly. But yeah, take an XP for that. And did you struggle because of your beliefs, scars, or quirks?
I don't think I struggled.
You're more like grappled with, specifically the one with Verb. Verb probably had more of a struggle than you did in that scene. So cool. So we'll get to that. Speaking of Verb, did you address the challenge with piloting or violence?
I think so.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Did you express your history, tragedy, or opening?
A little bit, just kind of talking about my distrust of the church with Creak.
Yeah, like the action doesn't have to be big. If you think you've triggered it, discretion's up to you. But like if you think you've triggered it, even if it's a small action, I'm very willing to give you that XP.
Sounds good. I did struggle with the belief with Creak, and the cape became a bit of a struggle as far as quirks go.
Yeah. See, everyone else was rolling successes, so it's hard to struggle when you're rolling successes.
So funny thing, I forgot that I also get to add the action dice to the roll.
Oh.
So I went ahead and rolled 2 more dice. It was a 1 and a 2, so it wouldn't have made a difference anyway. Yeah, so that was pretty exciting.
Oh gosh. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. All right. I think there's still crew XP. Don't worry, we'll get through this.
Oh, okay.
We'll get the more we get used to it, the quicker it'll go. There's always a lot to onboard, but yeah, take that XP too for sure. So squad XP. Did you execute a successful reconnaissance, espionage, sabotage, or theft op? Not yet. We're in the middle of one. Did you face off against challenges above your pay grade? Yep. I'll give you an XP for that. Did you bolster your squad's reputation or develop a new one? You're still being kind of enigmatic. You have this like big fuck off night, and the rest of you are skittering about. Vagabond's friend did try to call you out, but even then, she only had barely an idea of what y'all do. And JD's friend is just like, I don't know what you're doing, but just stay safe. But you're up to weird stuff, I know. So I'll give you 2 XP for that actually, because it happened. Your reputation came up multiple times. 2. And lastly, did you express the goals, inner conflict, or essential nature of the squad? I think that happened a lot. I think that rang clear. You're a weird group who works for this church that you really don't believe in, except maybe one of you. But even then, that's for their own ends and means. God, you're a weird bunch. I'll give you 2 XP for that. But that's lovely. All right, cool. So that's our first session of proper Beam Saber done. I hope everyone enjoyed themselves. I know there's a lot to onboard, but we'll get used to it as we progress. But the main thing is like I saw a lot of smiles, so I'm gonna assume everyone had a good time. And not just because of my shite banter. All right, I'm gonna stop recording, and we'll do stars and wishes very quickly because I know we're a bit over. But yeah, for anyone who's watching this, thanks very much. Link to Beam Saber down below. We'll see you all next week. Bye, YouTube.